So we are very honored today to have a very special guest, somebody who we've talked to before. We always enjoy talking to, one of our favorite channels on Flawsome Talk, Kjersti Flaa.
Thank you. You have the best intro, by the way. I was just sitting here waiting, like something amazing is going to happen here now. Thank you for having me. And thank you for being on my channel as well. I always learn so much from you guys. So yeah, it's really exciting to get someone who knows what they're talking about, because all of us are just sitting here guessing, but I have a better idea of where the truth is and what's going to happen. So yeah.
Well, thank you very much for that. And we enjoy listening to all of your insight on this case too, because you know the industry and you know a lot of the players. So it's always interesting to get your take.
Thank you.
So I was just thinking before we went on about what is it in your mind that captivates people about this case? Because there's just so many people who are really captivated by it. And obviously we've been very interested in it. And in the beginning, I kind of dismissed it as, oh, there's just a couple of people in Hollywood that are mad at each other. Who cares? But then the more you get into this case, the more fascinating it becomes. What do you think is it about this story that really gets people going?
Oh, there's so many layers to it. That's so interesting. I think, first of all, there's so many people involved. It's not like Depp versus Heard, when you have two people that were fighting. This is like so many people, and they're big players. Very, very famous people. Everyone from like also Ryan Reynolds and Taylor Swift, of course. People are interested in that. And I think that people feel like it's this urge to protect someone that they feel has been treated really unfairly. And the way that they see that the system might always work in the favor of the person that's been treated unfairly, I think it really upsets people. And also the thing that there's so many layers to this that, people start digging into these people's lives and seeing that there are so many dark sides to all of it, not even the people's lives, but the industry, the PR machinery, how everything works in Hollywood. I think it's been kind of a shock to a lot of people. And but it's been so fascinating to follow, because I'm like, people are going to start getting tired of hearing about this, but that's not the case at all. And and of course you have the legal aspect, and there's so much to lose here for the parties involved. You can lose your career. There's so much money involved. Yeah, it's got all the aspects except murder at this point that people are invested. Yeah.
Yeah, there still could be some murdering down the road, I guess. So the thing that interests me about this case is it seems like there's a flattening going on in reporting. And we always had the mainstream media. We had CNN. We had the big media outlets, and they would basically control all the information that we receive. And you just assume that what they were giving you was right. But now you're seeing a lot of content creators that are reporting on this case daily, sometimes several times a day. People can't get enough. Like you, I keep thinking, when are people going to be like, okay, we've done this enough, I don't want any more? But no, the appetite for this case is just so big. But then you get people like Stephanie McNeil at Glamour that wrote the article. And I'm not sure what her target was there, but what it did is it set off a lot of content creators, because it sounded like she was saying to them, we at the mainstream media, we're the ones have the ability to report here. And, you guys are just a bunch of nobodies, I think is what she said ultimately. But what are your thoughts about what's happening with this case? It's being reported on by people like us, you're way above us, Kjersti. But the point is the point is that I think just average everyday people with expertise are reporting on this. And I think people are hungry for this. They want the raw news on it. And not everybody does it as well as maybe CNN or MSNBC or Fox. But what are your thoughts on all of that?
It's interesting, especially for me, because I come from traditional media. I've been working as a journalist. I was writing before as well, and I've done TV. So I came from that side of things. So I know how traditional media works, and I know how they think. And I think there are some points there that, that Stephanie made, that people can sit and spread misinformation online, and there's no big consequences for doing that. And that is a scary thing. And we've seen it happen so many times. But But on the other side, it's interesting because now you see the content creators are the ones that kind of bring the news to the table. And then 1 or 2 days later, it gets picked up by social media. So it kind of, but I think what also Stephanie did with Glamour was like, she didn't think that through enough. So she kind of went after women reporting on this specifically and pointing at them as mommy sleuths. She didn't actually mention me in her article, but she went after especially women with conservative backgrounds and saying that this is kind of the way I saw it, kind of like she's saying that women out there are being brainwashed by the conservative side to believe that, Blake Lively, or like to dismiss the whole Me Too movement. And I think that's what really made a lot of creators angry with her. And I have a feeling that she probably hasn't even read Justin Baldoni's lawsuit, because if she did, how can she be so certain that Blake Lively is in the right here? And I think we've spoken about this so many times, other female creators and me, should we just believe women blindly? Why should we do that? Women lie just as much as men do. And why has it come to this point now where you're not supposed to question a woman when she accuses someone of something and she doesn't actually show any evidence of what had happened? So, yeah, I think there's a little bit of a, I wouldn't call it a war going on, but there's some strong feelings on both sides here. And I think when I saw how Stephanie reacted and she started posting things on TikTok, which also did make sense to me, because it was like you were accusing people for sharing their thoughts on social media, TikTok, Instagram, and then you're doing exactly the same thing, but accusing us for making more money for doing it than she did. Yeah, anyways.
Yeah. Right. And there's another reporter, was it Lorenz? I forget her first name.
Yeah, Taylor Lorenz, I think her name is.
Yeah, and she kind of made the point of the problem is that it's being covered by conservative women, the Candace Owens, Megyn Kelly types, and the people will go and watch their coverage on Blake Lively, and then they'll get served up other videos not having to do with Blake Lively, and it becomes apparently the gateway drug to conservative ideas. And so it kind of made me think, well, isn't that a bigger agenda? You're talking about a bigger agenda than just the Lively versus Baldoni case here.
They're trying so desperately to make it political for some reason. This isn't a political issue. It's an issue of what's right and what's wrong and where the truth lays. It's nothing to do with politics. I don't know why they had to make it political, because maybe Candace Owens got so invested in it. I think that's kind of the reason. But I also understand why Megyn Kelly got so invested in it, because she was, she experienced SH working for Fox. And, they even made a movie about that. So I understand her interest in this case. And especially, I think a lot of victims that have experienced things like this will get even more engaged in it, because they're like, we don't believe this woman. And it really infuriates them when a woman comes forward with what they see as false claims. So, yeah.
Is that just because that's damaging? It seems like a woman lying about SH claims is damaging to the cause as well.
Yes, so much. The Stephanie from Glamour was saying that we were kind of trying to take down the Me Too movement. But the way I see it, it's the opposite. What Blake Lively has done has really damaged the Me Too movements, because she makes people scared of coming out, because then they get scared of not being believed, because she claimed something that happened that we haven't seen happening. And so I've said that on my channel a few times. I think Blake Lively and Amber Heard are the worst things that happened to Me Too.
So talking about Me Too, we have this new Me Too law in California that Keith and I have been discussing, and we discussed it a little bit with you on your show. It's California Code of Civil Procedure 47.1, brand new, January 1 of 2024. No real cases have been decided with it yet that we can look at. The idea is that women, and it's generally women, it can be men too, but women make a complaint of SH against their boss, and their boss becomes very angry by that and offended by it. And many times the boss feels that they didn't do SH. And so they want to hit back. They want to punch back. And so they sue the employee that made this claim of SH for defamation, because there was obviously communications to people that SH took place. And there's all these various litigation privileges that apply. But essentially, this idea here with 47.1 was really to broaden the litigation privilege to even if a case wasn't filed, and it's to really protect women making these complaints. And of course, Blake Lively is using this to her best advantage. From what you've known about the law, and I know we just had a short discussion, what's your view of it, and how do you think it should be applied?
Oh my God, that's so tricky, because, it is meant to protect people. But then again, everything, what is it called? The road to hell is paved with good intentions. That,
Right.
that there will always be people that are abusing these laws. And I think that's what we see in this example here. But when I first saw it, I was like, what kind of law is that? But then I do understand where it's coming from, especially if you are SH by a very powerful person and you're just a regular person that, you can't afford to get sued back and keep this going. Because I feel like, I don't know, you're the legal experts here, but then, these legal things can continue, and you just be like completely broke at the end of it. And you just have to give it up. So I do understand where that law is coming from and what it's supposed to do, but maybe they need to amend it a little bit now so that, it can't be used in incidents like this. I don't know.
Well, there's one other thing that we've experienced as lawyers, and Keith and I used to handle SH claims in the past. And the one thing that we found, and this is well before this law was passed, we found that the women who make these reports and file lawsuits on it, the depositions they have to go through are brutal. They get asked, how many people do you sleep with? Have you slept with anybody else at the school district? If you're suing a school district, and it's awful. What kind of clothes do you wear? They really are put, and of course they have lawyers to defend them from those inappropriate type of questions, but it's still brutal with what they have to go through. So I am sympathetic that we want women and men too, but we want women to be able to make these claims and bring them forward without being bankrupted and then also dragged, across the concrete because they've made these claims and they end up, just with a bunch of scrapes and scratches and go, why did I do that? I should have just kept my mouth closed.
Yeah. No, it's tricky. I'm from Norway, a country where we don't usually just sue people left and right. It's a very American thing. I think people are just suing each other all the time. And so I'm thinking, if these kind of things would happen in Norway, you would just go to HR and they would probably fire the person, but there wouldn't necessarily be any lawsuits. And the problem is it's so much money involved. And that's another thing, in Norway, if any lawsuits, there's not the damages, everything is just such it's so much smaller amounts that they're talking about. So here you can ruin someone's life so easily, especially if you come from power and money and you're in a situation like that. So yeah, I don't know how to answer that. I just from my cultural background, it's so different. But I'm shocked by all the lawsuits here. It's always, legal implications everywhere you turn around. There's someone's I remember I interviewed Will Smith once and he said that he got sued an average of 15 times every year. So there will always be opportunists out there as well, especially when you're a celebrity with a lot of money. I think they get sued all the time.
Yeah. Yeah. Everybody's looking for deep pockets. So I mentioned before that at the very beginning of this case, I didn't pay much attention to it. I thought it was just two Hollywood people, arguing with each other. But you had a history, obviously, with Blake Lively. And I'm just curious, when this all started to unfold, what were your thoughts about it? Were you thinking, oh, this makes sense? Or, how did you approach this case in the very beginning?
Well, I learned about it through the New York Times, the article. I don't know, when I read it, the thing is, as you know, I was mentioned in the article and what they said about me there wasn't true. So I was when I read all of it, I was like, what can I trust from this article when I know that what they said about me was just completely taken out of context, and they basically planted this idea to people that I had been working with Justin Baldoni's team. And that made me believe that there was no smear campaign, because I knew that my video had spread organically on the internet. And so for me, I just couldn't see that there had been any smear campaign. And I thought it was like a bad excuse for her to make, because she became unpopular from people's reactions to her own behavior. But then the SH claims, I was like, I don't know what to believe, because I haven't seen, she didn't really show any evidence. She hinted that she felt uncomfortable in all these situations, but I was like, I need to see more evidence here. And of course, because the way she treated me, it's harder to be very objective with someone when you feel like they were like mean girl or bullying you. So for me, it was, I didn't jump on any conclusions at all, like a lot of people did. It made me feel a little bit bad, actually. I was like, oh, should I just believe her? I kind of didn't.
Yeah. Well, and Magnus also had that issue with the odd interview with the whole gin thing. And so that was kind of an interesting insight that you would have had that we wouldn't at that time.
Yeah, and journalists, we talk amongst each other. You always know what kind of people, how people are, when you talk to publicists, who's got a bad reputation in the industry. And since I started talking about it on my channel, I got so many people who contacted me who worked with her and, said it was a really bad experience. She made, I think 2 or 3 people I spoke to, she made them cry. They were kind of nobody's extras on set, so had like little parts. There were stand-ins or interns, and she treated them so badly. And I think, these are things that we all, when you work in this industry, these things. And it's interesting that no one has come out to me and tried to defend her. I haven't received any emails or anything like that from someone who said, you got it wrong. Blake Lively is really nice.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think Taylor Swift just came out in support of who's her friend that did some music. She dated Justin.
Oh, Selena Gomez.
Selena Gomez. She came out. She came out in support of
that.
Selena Gomez, but nothing about Blake so far. So I guess she took a little break from Instagram and she's back. But it would be interesting to know what her thoughts on the whole, and maybe we will find that out if this case continues. That leads me to this question for you, and that is, what do you think is going to happen here? Do you think this case is going to make it all the way to trial? And what, you have a big audience. What's their view of how this case should turn out?
I think everyone kind of wants it to go to court, because we want to see justice served. If we can see that, if it goes to court, that's another thing, because it's so many technicalities, like we were talking about California law and Me Too laws and all that. But I think a lot of people want to see it go to court because we really want to get all the evidence out there. And I think at this point, it's gone so far that I think, I believe that people really want to see this all the way. And now I feel like there's more chance of that happening.
What was the best evidence that you've seen that really made you realize, kind of side for Baldoni over Lively?
For me, it was interesting because when I saw the cherry-picked text messages, I know you spoke about the dancing scene, which is kind of obvious as well. But the fact that they removed certain things there and they removed emojis that, made the whole meaning different, that they kind of altered things a little bit, that to me was like a big red flag. It's like, oh, okay, so they're just steering the evidence in a direction to create this narrative that they want us to believe. And for me, that was a big red flag, I have to say. And especially the fact that they used the New York Times the way that they did. And they said to the New York Times that, we have thousands of pages of text messages and emails. And I don't know if New York Times saw all those texts and emails. I don't know if we're ever going to find out if they actually saw all of it or if they cherry picked themselves, if Blake Lively's team cherry-picked before sending it to them, or if Stephanie Jones cherry-picked the messages before she sent it to Blake Lively's team, before they sent it to the New York Times. Where did this alternation happen of these texts? And so to me, that's just a big red flag, I would say. But also, of course, all these other things. I mean, everything she has claimed, he came back and he's like, here's the receipt. This is the text you sent me. Here's the voice memo. Here's a picture of me and the family in the basement. Things like that. And then, of course, it's the question, is it more important to win public opinion here or to actually win in court? And I don't know the answer to that.
So I did something the other night. I sat down and watched It Ends With Us. It's not my kind of movie, but I watched it.
I can see that.
And Justin Baldoni, wow. Very handsome man, chiseled abs. The guy's got it all. I wonder, do you have any insight into this? I don't know if we have any evidence on this, but it seems that Ryan Reynolds really took a hatred to him. And it could be because he thought that Justin Baldoni called his wife fat. I know that there was some issues that had come up about whether Justin Baldoni had said that about Blake. It doesn't sound like something he would say from everything I've seen. It sounds like he's very respectful towards women. And I know he's denied that he didn't call her fat. But it seems that it's a little bit over the top for Ryan Reynolds and his feelings towards Baldoni based on, calling him a sexual predator, allegedly calling him a sexual predator and those types of things. There was a lot of kissing in that movie. And if I had to see my wife or girlfriend or whoever, my significant other, kissing Justin Baldoni, I probably wouldn't like him either. Do you think there's a little bit of jealousy here, or what are your thoughts in that regard?
So many people have speculated on that. I saw actually someone sent me a TikTok video that Ryan Reynolds posted to promote the movie before it came out. And he wrote in the caption, he said something like, "So excited about this, except to watch my wife making love to other people." And I was like, okay. And I think, both of them have a history of dating their co-stars. They met when they both were in a relationship with someone else. And they both have a track history of dating their co-stars. So I don't know. I know that Candace Owens really went far with that, with that theory. But I also feel like it's hard for regular people like us to understand how these big ego celebrities think, because I feel like sometimes they live in like a parallel universe, in a different reality. And, they think they're, and what do you call it? They think, they can get away with anything. And in their head, because that's how they've been treated for like so many years as celebrities, people are always like, yes, they'll do anything they ask them. And they're never been told like, you can't do something like that or no. So they believe that, they're entitled to do whatever they want. And I think, I don't know if there was anything between them. I feel like also from Baldoni's perspective, I don't think there was anything there. I think he loves his wife very much. But what do I know? I mean, that would just be guessing. I've never met him, just Baldoni, so I don't know. I met Ryan Reynolds many times. And, he was one of those guys who had a great reputation amongst journalists. And, he was always nice. So I was pretty shocked when I heard these things about him. I was like, wow, he sounds like he's very mean-spirited. So, yeah.
And then I think I saw one of your videos the other day that you had really nice things to say about Hugh Jackman, who may get drawn into this case, but you have found your interactions with him to be very pleasant. Is that right?
He's a really nice guy. I don't know what he's like in his personal life. I always have to say that to people because they're like, oh, but he did this to his wife. Yeah, he might have, left his wife and all that, but keeping all of the personal stuff out of it, I have to say, I've probably met him like 10, 15 times, and he's always, such a gentleman in every aspect of it. He's really, really nice. He is always making an effort to give you a good interview. There's nothing that's off limit to ask him. Yeah, no, I really feel sorry for him because, he has this really close relationship to Ryan Reynolds, and he feels that he had to support his friend because I'm sure he's a really good friend. And I feel sad for him. Because, he doesn't really have a choice here. But he hasn't come out publicly and supported them. I don't think he has. Has he? I don't think he said anything like I believe Blake or I stand by Ryan. He hasn't said anything like that.
I haven't
And
heard
I saw on
anything.
I saw on his Instagram people were attacking him for leaving his wife, and we don't know what happened there, you know. So yeah, I have a soft spot for you, Jackman. I do.
Did you see the counter lawsuit by the Wayfair parties against Stephanie Jones and the allegations that were made there?
Well, I didn't read all of it, but I read about it. So I know approximately what's in there. Yeah.
What were your thoughts in terms of what they're saying that Stephanie Jones did and all of this?
It's interesting that they're saying basically that she's the instigator for all of this. If it wasn't for her, for taking, for grabbing her employee's phone, her personal phone. I mean, is that even legal? And to keep her personal phone, they were making a point out of, she was locked out of her iCloud. She couldn't log into her bank account because she had a authentication, 2 points, whatever it's called, two-step, whatever. She was locked out of all her personal information. And the way that Stephanie Jones stood her up, she was waiting for her outside a cell phone store, I think, to get her phone back, and she just didn't show up and she didn't care. So to me, the way they're portraying Stephanie Jones is like, oh, she's not a good person. And there's been other articles written about her. There was one article, I think it was titled, Who's Afraid of Stephanie Jones? And it was an article about her and the way she's like, kind of being a bully in Hollywood. So, yeah.
I'm sure with your reporting, especially around celebrities, that you've been around PR people. What is your experience being around these PR people when you're doing interviews and things like that?
It was interesting because I was interviewing a publicist on my channel the other day because I really wanted to hear this from her perspective, and it's a little bit different if you're a publicist for the studio, for the movie, or if you were the personal publicist. But the way that they have been dragged into them, they hate that because it's giving the whole, the PR industry such a bad rep. Mm-hmm. They're like, oh my God, they're so evil. They're planting these stories about each other and the way they talk about their clients. So yeah, this is not a good thing for them. But my experience with PR people is I'm always a little bit annoyed because they're always want you to not ask this question, or they're just always stressed, and they make often these interview situations much more stressful than they have to be. They're always running around with their little notes and, but I totally get it. It's their job, and she was pointing out to me that, Justin Baldoni's team, they just did their job. They were trying to save him from all this bad press that Blake Lively's team was trying to plant. So it's a dirty game. And now we all know, and they don't want us to know that.
Yeah, it seems like a dirty game, that's for sure.
Is there anything else we want to talk about?
No, I just want to thank you so much, Kjersti, for joining us. It's always a pleasure to have you on and hear your insights.
Too. Oh, and your insights. I mean, oh my God, I can't believe that what you said about the California Me Too loss. Wow. Anyways.
Well, Kjersti, when we first reached out to you, we had 4,500 subscribers, and you were so kind to have us on your show, and then we had you on our show, and we're still really tiny, but we're making our way up there. But we started with you, and it's always a pleasure to have you on and to talk to you about this case.
That makes me so happy, and I'm so happy to see you grow. When you were on my channel, everyone was like, these are the nicest lawyers out there. So yeah, you are. You're really, really nice, and you know your stuff. So yeah, thank you for having me on your channel again. I really appreciate it.
All right, we'll see you again next time.
See you.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye.